If you're feeling like you've outgrown your friends, you've outgrown your family, yeah, you did. You've grown beyond these people. You have a more developed worldview, and that's great. That's awesome. And it also means, as you said, that it's harder to connect with the people that you used to connect to when you were at a similar level of development. And when I was going through that phase, I think there was a couple of those phases, but the more dramatic one was, I would say I was like 23, 24 roughly. And I had started having some awakenings, like non-dual experiences, and everything just accelerated. It was like hitting the NOS button in a car. And I still felt different from my friends before that, but then the gap widened and it was this chasm. And I was like, oh my God, like what have I done? And it was clear that that was good for me, but also it was hard because they're my friends. And so I ended up taking off traveling around the world for a long time after that, met a whole bunch of really cool people. But if I had just stayed home in the environment I was in, I wouldn't have been able to do that. It'll be cool to see how your relationships sort of reorganize a little bit. People that, maybe you were close with, don't become enemies with, of course, but they just distance a little bit. You're like more like still friends, but don't hang out all the time. And then other people will you'll be more connected with certain people than others. And loneliness, for better or worse, is for a lot of people a really big part of this journey. It kind of is. That's not an absolute truth. It's relative, but it's true in a lot of cases where, fuck man. I mean, there's just, the higher you go in the developmental game, the more you develop, the more by definition you leave the largest group behind. If there's an average and you go, like most people, let's say, are average, and you're suddenly above average, you just separated from most people. There's fewer people that are above average than are average in the world by definition. So yeah, there's fewer people that you connect with, but your connections are going to be deeper when you find those people. And then again, further still, until at like the master level, there's kind of nobody. And that's like, and I'm not at that level. I'm speaking, maybe out of turn here, but it's just like so fucking obvious. There's like not, masters don't exactly just walk around. The grocery store is not full of spiritual masters. There's like a small handful of them. So they're alone at the top of the mountain, and the view is beautiful, but they're alone. And that's good to know going into this path, that it is a little bit more lonely, and you acclimate to that. I'm a lot more comfortable with loneliness than I was back then. And at this point, it's like it doesn't really enter my mind very much. But I'll tell you this, that hopefully this is encouraging. The differences and the distance that you're feeling right now between you and your family, the people at your church and so on, the distance that you feel will not grow smaller. It will get bigger. But as it gets bigger, you will hit a point where it no longer causes you suffering, and it no longer is a problem. Because paradoxically, you will be more capable, the more you develop, the more you will be capable of accepting people as they are, and really actually accepting them, not conceptually, not like, oh, I should accept this person as but like literally it just doesn't bother you. You do not need them to be anything other than they are, and you can appreciate them and enjoy being with them. And it's not an issue when you get to higher levels. So it's a catch-22, like you're not a catch-22. It's a phase where you break off from, your life as you knew it. And that initial break is lonely and kind of a little bit scary. It's like, oh shit, I can't really turn back. And you probably feel that. It's like, I can't unknow what I know. I can't unsee what I've seen. And it's like a little bit shaky there for, you've realized that you're in the wilderness and you were with this tribe of people. That tribe of people was handling the wilderness in all kinds of fucked up ways, and like you disagreed with it, so you broke off from the tribe, but now you're in the wilderness and it's like, holy shit, it's wild out here. But as you keep going, I mean, as you keep going, you find more people, you build new tribes, and then paradoxically, you kind of you grow to just be able to accept any tribe and it no longer bothers you. So I can spend time around my friends with no issue, love them, love hanging out with them, and it's all good, just like it was before. So yeah, you're in a phase. It will pass. It is uncomfortable and it's worth it. I almost see it like when you're in the wild, you're with your tribe, suddenly you break off from the tribe. The wilderness is going to test whether or not you're capable, whether or not you can hang. And the loneliness and the discomfort and maybe some fear that comes up is the test. Like, hey, you going to turn back or are you going to keep going? It's like when I moved to New York City in 2015, I think, for a stretch of time. And when I first got there, it was like the Airbnb that I rented turned out to be nothing like in the pictures. It was just a disaster. And I had to fight my way out of that contract. And then suddenly I'm homeless and I slept on a friend's couch for a few nights while I was searching for another place. And then I moved into like a temporary Airbnb and I couldn't find a long-term rental, and New York City's fucking crazy. So they're charging so much money, and there's places where they literally hang sheets like bedding in a room. They hang bedding as walls so they can fit multiple rooms or like pseudo rooms within a room. It's crazy out there. Concrete jungle, right? Off that, the metaphor of being in the wild is very accurate there. And partway through that, I was walking down the street walking down the sidewalk, talking to a friend who lives there and explaining what's going on. Oh my God, I can't find a place. I can't, like, everything's falling through. And he just goes, yeah, New York's testing you. It's like, bro, New York's testing you. Not everybody can live here. And let's see if you pass the test. And as soon as I understood that, I was like, oh yeah, of course. Shit's hard out here. It's like, fuck it. I can pass that test. Found a sick spot in Brooklyn in a really good location. Awesome place. Stayed there for several months. Had a great time. It was perfect. But once you understand, like, there's a testing that's happening, and it's not meant to be comfortable. As soon as you know that, you can meet the test. You can meet the test. It's like you don't get under a bar to squat it expecting that shit not to hurt. And if you're under the bar and you're squatting, that pain feels kind of good because you're testing yourself. And so that's the phase you're in right now. And it's awesome. It's awesome. As long as you know, like, yeah, it's a phase and it's all good.